Don't marry a white girl. These were the last words that my grandma said to me before I left Zimbabwe to come to Ireland. I was like, what? Grandma, I'm not even thinking about any of that. I didn't have a girlfriend at the time. I'm just thinking about how to survive the Irish weather when I get there. But before you think that my grandma is racist, she's not racist at all. She's the sweetest person that you will ever come across and have the pleasure of knowing. What you need to understand about her is that she grew up in colonial Zimbabwe. And at that time, the white people that she knew, they were wearing khaki shorts and taking land. So as far as my grandma was concerned, this was a matter of national security. So she's like, y'all be careful when you get over there. And at the time, I didn't even have the heart to tell her that, hey, I'm going to Ireland. They have not colonized anybody. In fact, Ireland themselves were colonized for more than 800 years or something like that. So us and them actually have this in common. We've got this solidarity, so don't you worry about it. But I just smiled and I said, all right, Granny, I'll be on the lookout. I'll be on the lookout for any white women that are trying to get me. So then I flew over to Ireland and I forget about the whole thing. And a couple of years in, I then met this fine, hearty, she was like a 10 out of 10, loved Jesus, great personality, great smile, and for whatever reason, she also likes me. So I'm like, man, I gotta take my shot here. And at this point, Granny's words are now in my head. I'm like, oh no, what am I gonna do now? And I thought about it for like 2 seconds. And then I made my move and I asked her out to be my girlfriend, and thankfully she said yes. And I thought, you know what Granny doesn't know won't hurt her. But then in a little while, I get a call from my mom, and she's like, hey son, your grandma is coming to visit you. And I'm like, she must know something, because you need to understand something about my grandma. She never leaves a house. She loves a house. She's got like acres and acres of land where she can grow whatever that she wants, and she's got like a view of Mutarazi Falls. It's just like a beautiful place to be. So she never wants to leave it. But for whatever reason, she felt it in her spirit that this boy in Ireland is in trouble, and she's like, I need to go visit him. So now she's coming over to come visit, and now I gotta tell my girlfriend that, oh, we might have a problem here. But anyway, so fast forward a couple months, Granny comes over to come visit. And we sort of like meet her, and she just kind of gives me a little wry smile, but really she's not really interested in me. She's not even kind of concentrating on me at all, but with who I'm with. And at this point I'm like, oh Granny, what are you gonna do? Are you gonna say something? Are you gonna be cold? How's this whole interaction gonna go? But actually I had to be sort of like afraid of, really, because what happened is my grandma, my girl, got down on her knees, and she kind of clapped her hands, told my grandma, and greeted my grandma in my native tongue of Shona. And she said, Makadini. And from that moment on, it just melted my grandma's heart. And I'm telling you, those two are tight. I'm like now the second favorite at this point. But let me break it down what really happened there. So my white girl, she demonstrated what we call unreasonable hospitality. You see, when she met my grandma, she could have just simply said hello at a distance, but she didn't do any of that. What she actually did was greet my grandma in a language that my grandma understands, in gestures that my grandma understands, and that really made my grandma feel cherished and loved and honored, and actually announced that this girl wasn't there to colonize Zimbabwe or colonize anybody. That is what unreasonable hospitality is. It's going above and beyond what is required of you. And this is the thing that people always remember how we make them feel. And hospitality is a way to break through fears, prejudices, presumptions, stereotypes, whatever that people might think. If you just go above and beyond, you're guaranteed to get that response that just melt people's heart. And you can even see that in the Bible hospitality is given such, a high standing where unreasonable hospitality is always rewarded. There's a verse in Hebrews that talks about that you should be hospitable, because by being hospitable, some have entertained angels. So without even knowing it, you might have entertained angels. And the fact that my girl here was, showed unreasonable hospitality, actually put that base of foundation for that relationship between her and my granny. And now I'm just saying to you, show some, unreasonable hospitality. Who are you going to show hospitality this week? Who are you going to show some unreasonable hospitality today? Maybe when you go over for a meal at a restaurant, maybe you actually leave an unreasonable tip. Maybe even a tip that is larger than the meal that you've just had. Or maybe you just be kind to your boss who does not do anything really good for you, gives you a hard time. Just show them unreasonable hospitality. And maybe even now, you might show some unreasonable hospitality by commenting on this video when you don't normally comment. So you just go above and beyond to show unreasonable hospitality.